Sup guys, my name is Julia and today I'm going to be doing the first video in a series of videos I have planned that document my rereading experience of Air Awakens by Elise Kova. So why am I doing this? Well, the 13th book in the series comes out on March 14th and I'm very excited to read it, but in order to read it I have to reread the rest of the series so I can catch all the little context clues that Elise Kova has put into her book. And in order to do that, well, I gotta start from the very beginning. So, if you guys don't know, Elise Kova is an independent author. She publishes all of her work on Amazon. She published her debut novel, Air Awakens, in 2015, August 27, 2015. So, my single most anticipated book of 2019 is Crystal Cage. It's a 5-book main original series, Air Awakens, and then there's a 3-book prequel trilogy, and then there's 5 books in the spin-off series, right? And so in order to properly enjoy the final book in this whole enormous saga, I have to reread the whole rest of this series. That means 12 books in about a month. Now, I have already read these books, so I feel like I can go through them a little faster this time, so maybe I'll make it. If I don't make it, then well, it's fine. But it's not like one of those spin-off series where the old characters make cameos every now and then. It's like so much more than that, you know? Like, this wholly recontextualizes what was going on in that first series, and it's just like you get to revisit old places from that original series and you're like, whoa, I just thought you mentioned that place one-off, but you're bringing it back into the story. That's good planning. But yes, today we'll be doing my rant review of Air Awakens by Elise Kova, and just so you guys know, this video will be very spoilery. I'm gonna do my best not to spoil any book aside from Air Awakens in this video. If I do spoil you, I'm very sorry. And I know I'm gonna title this video something like rather derogatory, like when your boyfriend pushes you off a roof or something like that, or like when your boyfriend's an emo angst lord, okay? Like I'm gonna title it something like that. With full disclaimer, I actually really love this series. The main character, Vhalla, she is my precious cinnamon roll baby. I love her so much. And then her main love interest, Aldrik Solaris, is the stupid trash son that I feel obligated to take care of because he's just so stupid and I feel like he can barely function as a human being, so I just feel this maternal obligation to be there for him. So like, this is by no means a hate video. Every little jab or roast I make is all made in good fun, okay? And listen, I have drawn Vhalla and Aldrik fan art. I have doodled these characters in my notebook instead of paying attention in lecture. I genuinely love this series and I'm just making this video to document my reading experience so I can like gush about my feelings, and maybe if there's any other Air Awakens fans out there, you guys can gush with me in the comments or something. That being said, I did have some problems with the series, and I will also be addressing those problems in these videos that I'm making, because you know, like, you gotta call out things that make you uncomfortable, you know? So, starting off, it was a dark and stormy night. Okay, well, it actually starts off with summer storms were common in the capital, and Vhalla had endured their visits in the 7 years since she had moved from the east. But lightning and thunder were never welcome guests. Yeah, but basically, it was a dark and stormy night. So we have our girl Vhalla, who is a library apprentice, working in the palace. So one day she's at work when all the other librarians in the middle of the night are called to search through all the texts they have for medical knowledge because the prince has been injured, right? And he is dying. So Vhalla automatically assumes that this prince must be Golden Prince Balder, the second prince, the flirtatious one, the heartthrob who caught her once when she almost fell off the ladder in the library. So she pours all of her blood, sweat, and tears into like making sure she gets the right medical notes for him. And it turns out she pours some more that's not blood, sweat, or tears onto her notes. Vhalla is dragged off to the Tower of Sorcery, and it is there that she is informed by the Minister of Sorcery, Victor, that she has magical powers. She's a sorcerer. Yeah, because she left traces of her magical powers in her medical notes, and that magic from those notes actually healed the prince's wounds, which means that, like, yo, this girl needs to be joining the Tower of Sorcery because we need to train her and teach her how to use her power. The issue is that the Tower of Sorcerers is widely feared by most commoners, and that's because many years ago there was a really great war called the War of the Crystal Caverns, where a bunch of tainted magic essentially corrupted a lot of sorcerers and they went mad. So a lot of soldiers, including Vhalla's own father, had to go and like fight in that war. And during that time, Vhalla's mother died of autumn fever. So she has a bit of trauma associated with this, you know, it be like that sometimes. So naturally, when she learns she has powers, she freaks out and yeets the hell out of there because sorcerers are scary. No one likes sorcerers. Sorcerers walk around dressed in all black, you know, glowering at people, making fire appear out of nowhere. Oh, I should also mention that all the magic in this series is elemental magic. So we learn that in the north, you have ground breakers. In the south, you have water runners. In the west, you have fire bearers. And in the east, you have windwalkers. But like, there hasn't been a windwalker for 134 years. So I guess it doesn't really matter that we know this little tidbit of information. Yeah, I feel like it's also important to mention that Vhalla is an Easterner. But, you know, that's whatever, she's from the East. It's not like she's the main character of the story or anything. So this is also when we find out that the prince she healed wasn't actually Prince Balder, it was Crown Prince Aldrik. So Aldrik is the black sheep of the family, okay? Like, he is the crown prince, he's a sorcerer, he's haughty, he's egotistical, he's mean, he's cold and stoic, but yeah, he's basically an asshole. Elise Kova herself said that she based Aldrik off of Prince Loki from the first Thor movie, so that might help you like figure out a little bit about him, right? I also feel like mentioning that he's called the Fire Lord. Yeah, he's called the Fire Lord, right? Because he's like a ruthless killer, you know, on the battlefield, you know, no one likes him, you know, he's scary. Particularly, I also feel like mentioning that Elise Kova herself stated that she based Aldrik and Prince Balder, the second prince, on Loki and Thor respectively, and that when she named Vhalla, she basically took the word Valhalla, the Norse concept of heaven, and shortened it to Val. There you go. That's how you make names. Yeah, and in later years, she has admitted to regretting her not having a system for naming, but you know, it's her debut, we can cut her some slack. So, Vhalla starts reading up on magic using the books in the library, and you know, she notices out of the corner of her eye that there's like a black shadow following her everywhere. So it turns out that no, she's not about to be murdered, it's not an evil demon, it's just Tower of Sorcery keeps tabs on her, you know, and there's always like a little sorcerer wandering around, like trailing her, making sure she doesn't go berserk or kill anyone. And so this is when we meet Laurel. Laurel is a fire bearer, she is from the west, she looks like this. Yeah, I'm also gonna tell you now that all the fan art that I use here that's like low-key bad is fan art that I drew myself. And that's because there's not enough fan art of this series, so I have to go out and draw all these characters by myself. Like, it's a heavy burden, but it is a burden I'm willing to bear. So Laurel is a sweetheart. She's a mama bear. She's just like, yo, you go at your own pace. We're just here to protect you. But just so you know, if you ever want to learn about your powers, the tower will always be here to welcome you. The tower takes care of its own. Laurel is really like her first sorcerer friend. This is also where Vhalla finds a book with a mysterious note written in it, where that basically just calls her out for wasting people's time, for not like giving into her powers, for not learning how to use her powers, and just making everyone like babysit her, right? And of course, like, she gets pretty offended by this, and she writes that person a snarky note in response, puts it in the book, sticks it back on the shelf, and then the next day she gets another response. I wonder, who could this note possibly be from? Could it be the mysterious broody prince who's already been name dropped a dozen times, who hasn't shown up on screen yet, but you already know he's going to be the main love interest because he literally shows up on the cover of the next book? It's a total mystery, right? So then you have these kids passing notes like middle schoolers. Vhalla's 18, by the way. Well, she's 17, she's going to turn 18 later in this book. And Aldrik is like 24. And like, Aldrik is really a dramatic hoe, okay? Like, she asks him like, who are you? And he's like, I am the phantom in the darkness. And I'm just like, wow, what a drama queen. And meanwhile, she also gets visions of a mysterious figure clad in black whose face she can't see whenever she sleeps, right? She wakes up one night and she just follows her instincts, and she goes and she finds a mysterious figure perched in a window, and bam, it's Prince Aldrik. He is the one who's been setting her notes this whole time, and he is so rude. Like, no joke. He's just like, yo, Vhalla, you're a naive girl who only reads books all day. Follow me and learn to become who you were always meant to be. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. He's like, I can give you unlimited power, you know, you just gotta learn from me. You need a teacher. But then he also says, like, rude crap that makes me, like, wonder. They're just like, tell me, Vhalla, have you ever made love to a man? Tell me, have you ever pleasured yourself? Whatever it was, I doubt it was very good. I will tell you why it was not. Because, Vhalla, you think and you watch, but you never do. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? Are you trying to convince her to like you? Why are you being creepy? Why are you calling her the hell out like that? Like, yo, if I were Vhalla, I would have actually smacked you across the face with the back of my hand, okay, and left. Because that's rude. You can't say that to people. Yikes. And like when I was reading it, I was like, damn boy, you kiss your mama with that mouth? And then I remembered that his mom died shortly after he was born. I was like, ah. No, he don't kiss his mama with that mouth. Mama's dead. And I felt bad. So anyways, he pops open a secret passageway and he leads her up to the roof. And there he promptly pushes her off said rooftop and she plummets to her death. Just kidding. She survives, but she's in a ton of pain. She's got broken ribs, fractures, spine's out of whack, her legs are shattered, shoulders dislocated. It's a good time. She also has like lost all of her fingernails from where she tried to grab onto the side of the building to stop herself from dying. But it turns out Vhalla Jarl is the first Windwalker in generations. And then so Aldrik steps into the room. He's like, yo, what's up? Dude, your power's awakened. That's amazing. And she's just like, can you GTFO? You pushed me off a roof. And he's like, no, it's okay, baby, don't worry. Like, your powers are awakened. Isn't this great? And she's like, no, get the hell out of here. I am so done with you. And I'm just like, girl, same. Honestly, same. And she spends the next few weeks like recovering, regrowing her bones, like getting everything set. She's covered in bruises. She's having a terrible time. Aldrik is pretty butthurt about all of this. When she tells him to get out and like she trips on the floor because she's so weak, he's just like, stay there. Stay on the floor where you belong. You are like a pathetic little worm who only wants to sit in the dirt when I was prepared to give you a chance to grow wings and fly. Yeah, it was at this point where I was like, how did y'all end up in a relationship again? Like, why y'all endgame? Yo, real talk, like, what happened? But yeah, she heals up, gets back to work, and this is when we are introduced, well, you met them earlier, but this is when we really like start to look at her childhood friends, Roan and Serene. So Serene has had a crush on her this whole time. You know, he's like that childhood best friend character who always had a crush on you, you know. But unfortunately, Roan has a crush on Serene, and Vhalla is just totally uninterested in Serene. And I'm just like, you know, I get it. Serene's just a humble library boy. Meanwhile, I got the crown prince over there. Like, yeah, he pushed you off a building, but like, he's got money. And as we've established in my first video, I'm a gold digger, so I get it, you know. So she also meets another sorcerer, Fritz Nangle Cherim, or Fritz for short. He's a sunshine boy, he's gay, he's a water runner, and he's just, in the words of Aldrik, an incompetent nitwit. Yeah, Aldrik's kind of an asshole. I don't know if you've noticed yet. But yeah. Vhalla's birthday rolls around, she's out strolling around the gardens when she stumbles across a secret rose garden. Gee, I wonder who this rose garden could possibly belong to. Yeah, it's Aldrik, by the way. And it's really awkward, you know, because she's like, oh, okay, this guy just told me to, like, curl up on the floor and die a while ago. I believe now. And then he's just like, he genuinely apologizes to her for pushing her off the roof. He's like, dude, you can leave if you want, but, like, I'm sorry, you know, like, I was just really upset. But that doesn't justify what I said to you. And I'm just like, oh, good job, Aldrik. You do have some social skills after all. And then he explains that, like, he pushed her off the roof thinking that he couldn't actually hurt her by doing so. He thought she would be fine. And that's because when he got healed through her medical notes, her magic, like, went into his soul and vice versa, and they created a bond. So this bond essentially makes it such that you cannot mortally harm the person you are bonded with. And so he was like, if my body can physically push you off a roof, then that means me physically pushing you off a roof won't kill you or anything. It's like, yeah, she didn't die, but he's like, I didn't realize that I could still hurt you a lot, you know, so like for that I apologize, you know, that's my reasoning why, but I understand if you're like done with me. And then she's like, okay, well, he's making an effort, so why not? Let's give him another chance. And during this exchange, she finds out that Laurel is actually his childhood best friend. And then she's just like, you have friends? And then he looks really sad, and I instantly felt really bad, right? Damn-ish. Me too, the fuck? Yeah, I felt so bad because I laughed at first when she made this little outburst, and then his reaction made me feel so guilty. Like, he just kind of looks away and, like, awkwardly. I was like, oh, damn, I feel bad for laughing at you. Vhalla goes on to muse. For all his orders and sneers, his commanding presence, and his intimidating always all-black ensemble, Vhalla saw something different. She simply saw someone who was lonely, someone who could likely count their friends on one hand, and perhaps wanted to one day use two hands. He was nothing like the man she first met, the man who wore a mask to meet palace expectations. She hadn't forgiven him yet, not quite yet. Perhaps Laurel was right. And Vhalla felt a little sorry for him too. Anyway, so they essentially try the friendship thing all over again. And he says, "And you are not a little worm, Vhalla. Good job. That's progress. Great job." And then, like, we get back to Serene, and he's like, "Yo, Vhalla, you wanna go out or something?" And she's just like, yeah, so, like, you know how I was sick for a week? Yeah, I actually, developed magical powers." And he's just like, no, I'm not messing with that. Bye. And then she gets really annoyed, and, you know, it's just, like, this contrast between how Aldrik treats her and, like, how he always encourages her to better develop her magical powers, versus Serene, who's, like, a commoner who doesn't understand, who treats her with fear, who, like, sees her as a bit of a monster for, like, what she is. And so she's, like, upset by, like, that sort of radical contrast between the two people in her life. Anyways, and then Prince Balder actually finally shows up in the story, and Vhalla notes how everyone in the crowds loves him, but no one cheered for Aldrik when he came back into the city, and she feels bad all over again. And I'm just like, dude, I get it. Aldrik is an ooh sad boy. You don't have to keep rubbing it in, okay? Like, I already signed the adoption papers, okay? Like, he is my son. I've accepted him already. You don't have to keep pushing this. Like, he just has to say he has no friends, and I'm just like, okay, you're my son now. Okay, I'm taking custody. Oh yeah, and then she accidentally astral projects into, like, Aldrik's mind, and he's just like, yo, what the hell? So he pushes her out, and then she passes out. And then Serene comes back in the story, and he's like, yo, Vhalla, like, I know I freaked out, but, like, you're always still gonna be my best friend. You're the Vhalla I grew up with, and nothing will change that. But also, like, don't do that crazy power thing around me, okay? Like, it's weird, and, like, if someone finds out, you're dead. But, like, by this point, like, Vhalla's starting to catch the oohs for Aldrik anyways. She's like, oh, yeah, cool, that's lit. So later on, Vhalla finally meets Prince Balder again, who catches her and Aldrik on a garden picnic date. And then he's just like, he's not blackmailing you or anything, is he? Like, I know you weren't enjoying his company. And Vhalla gets all butthurt and defensive, like, you don't even know him, okay? Like, and you're just judging him like that. And then this is where Balder is like, oh, damn, someone actually likes my brother? Wait, I gotta play wingman right now, because, like, he's never gonna get a shot like this ever again in his life. So he plays fairy godmother, and he gets Vhalla invited to the great royal gala, you know? It's holiday season, there's a great ball being thrown, he gets her hairstylist, he gets her makeup done, he gets her dress tailor, you know? And then this is when she chooses to wear all black to the gala, because this is symbolic of her choosing to take the black and join the Tower of Sorcerers, right? And most importantly, this is where she chooses to be with Aldrik. He's the only one else at that ball gala thing who's wearing black, and they make a beautiful pair, and they have a moonlight dance in the gardens, okay, and they're about to kiss when this nearby city goes on fire. So I'm just like, damn, that chemistry's so sizzling though. Yeah, that's not actually what's happening. There's actually a terrorist who set the city on fire, and so Vhalla rushes over knowing that her friends are in the city celebrating the holidays, and that is where she finds the dead body of Serene. So I guess that love triangle is just settled. So the terrorists in this story are northerners who are basically upset with the Empire because the Empire is slowly trying to conquer the North. It's conquered the East, it's conquered the West, and now it's trying to assimilate the North into the Empire as well. So these Northerners, they hurt Aldrik, who's still, like, injured from his, like, wound that he incurred earlier in the story. They torture Vhalla, and then Vhalla unleashes her magic, and all these Northerners die. They get killed, right? So this is a moment where we kind of have to address the uncomfortable subtext going on, right? Okay, so we have a narrative about a bunch of white people who are slowly taking over their neighboring kingdoms full of people of color. Okay, and then these Northerners are the bad guys. You know, earlier in the story, they showed up as a troupe of performers, and in that scene, they showed up with a bunch of green paint all over their skin that makes them look inhuman. Now, we later find out that it's fire-resistant paint, you know, because they know that they're about to set the city on fire, so they want fire resistance on them, right? But in that moment, when Vhalla first saw them with the green paint, she's like, they looked inhuman. They looked alien, almost. I'm just like, okay, girl, you're gonna be pulling that right now? Okay. Alright, honey. You're gonna dehumanize other like that? Okay. Also, earlier they agreed to perform tricks for the Southerners as thanks for letting them into, like, the Empire, you know? Like, as refugees. But to her credit, Vhalla does note how she wouldn't feel anything like gratitudes to the Southerners if they had destroyed her home, right? And it's revealed to be a ploy to sneak into the city so they can kill the royal family. Anyways, after everything settles, Vhalla is put in prison. She's being accused of trying to kill the crown prince and murdering a bunch of people, like, in a, like, great explosion, which they call the Night of Fire and Wind. Yeah, they say she's been conspiring with the Northern assassins. And it's like, yeah, okay. I don't know where they drew these conclusions from, but whatever. So yeah, Vhalla gets routinely beaten up by like her palace guards who are being bribed by an evil senator to like rough her up and make her like life miserable. So yeah, Prince Balder shows up being like, yo, get the hell out of here, okay? Like, before I get you guys fired, you can't treat a person like that, especially not a lady. And then he like basically patches up her wounds, and then he gets like his own 2 personal guards assigned to watch over her, Daniel and Craig. They'll show up later again in the story. And when Prince Aldrik finds out that she's been beaten up by these 2 palace guards, he I think burns them alive, like right there and then, the moment he sees them. And then he's like, oh yeah, like I caught them trying to steal from the palace coffers, you know, like, so I had to execute them on the spot. And like Vhalla is strangely okay with this, although like she does have like PTSD from getting beaten up all the time, so I feel like maybe that's why she's okay with it. But I'm also just like, dude, your boyfriend just killed 2 people and you're okay with this. But okay, sure, true love, I guess. So like her friends intervene, they like attest to her character, you know, the Minister of Sorcery. She's like, yo, she's the first Windwalker in 134 years, like that's really special, like this could be the key to turning the war. And so she gets acquitted of most of her charges except for like endangering the public with her reckless magic, and as a result she has to get drafted into the war. You know, she's now property of the crown and she has to like go fight on the front lines. And Vhalla is totally like not okay with this because she's been a library apprentice for 18 years. You know, she knows how to read and write, but not how to fight. And also she has like PTSD from this night of wind and fire. She keeps having nightmares about the dead body of her friend and all the other people she killed. You know, she feels a lot of guilt over like not being there to protect her loved ones. And so she's just like not in the right headspace to be going off to war, but she doesn't have a choice. She doesn't. So yeah, the story really ends with her like cutting off her hair, you know, shaving away her innocence before she heads off to join the war. So this book has issues with racial ambiguity. Like if you look at the cover, she looks white, even though in the story it's mentioned that she has yellow-hued skin and wavy dark brown hair and brown eyes, right? So I assumed she was supposed to be East Asian, right? Because if you're gonna use the term yellow to describe someone's skin, I feel like that's making a statement, you know? Like I thought, so in my head I was picturing her like Jamie Chung or Gemma Chan, you know? But no, that's not what the cover makes her look like. And then you see other Eastern characters on other book covers and you're like, that's not Asian. But okay, fam. Like, you know, Daniel, one of the prince's personal guard that I mentioned earlier, he's Eastern as well. But like, this is what he looks like. And then like you have Prince Aldrik, who is the son of the emperor, who's white and southern, and one of the princesses of the west, who had tan skin and long dark straight hair. And then he is lily white with the black hair and like the western features. I'm just like, that's not how melanin works, man. Like, have you seen mixed babies before? Like, they always have a little bit of a tan to them. But okay, sure, whatever, it's a fantasy world. Like, Sareem had like tan skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair because he was half-half. And I'm just like, that's not how genetics works, but okay, whatever, it's a fantasy world. And this first book also just suffers a lot from a general lack of plot. It's very character focused. It really zooms in on like Vhalla coming to accept her powers as a part of her, and also the blossoming romance between Vhalla and Aldrik, you know? Aside from that, there's really not much happening. Like when I first read this, I was pretty bored. I'm only really invested in this reread because like I've read the other like 11 books that are out right now, and I like care about all these idiots, you know? And I mean, the cliffhanger is interesting though, and Aldrik is a yeah, Vhalla Aldrik is an interesting couple to read about, even if they're like both disasters. And you know, it's one of those books that promises like extreme character development later on. And I mean, given that each book comes out like every 3 months, it's a very bingeable series, so you don't have to wait too long, and then so the events are still fresh in your mind by the time you read the next book. And I will say that right now, like rereading this is a lot of fun because Vhalla is a very different character at the beginning of the story than she is like at the end of the story. So it's kind of nice to see like where she started and how much she's changed. So like I can't say that this book is great literature, but it's very enjoyable literature. Like I think when I first read this book, I thought like, wow, this is pretty trashy, but like not bad, I'll keep reading. Like in later books, like Vhalla becomes more badass, she becomes more confident in herself, and Aldrik gets worse, but he also gets better at the same time. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like this guy has so much baggage. Like if he was at an airport, he'd be stuck at check-in for 5 years, okay? Like, and we've only touched the tip of the iceberg by this point, okay? Like he has so much trauma. But you know, I'm honestly just glad that 2018 me decided to keep with the series and keep reading because I love these guys. They're stupid, but I love them. That basically is how the story ends. I'll be back with my update video when I read Fire Falling, the next book in the series, which will hopefully be soon. I gotta move really fast because I need to finish all 12 books before March 19, 14, 10. I need to check, actually, that's very important. So thank you all for anyone who stayed this long, and I'll be back with another video soon. Yeah, an important note, if your boyfriend, for any reason, pushes you off a roof or a cliff or anything, he may not be good boyfriend material. Just disclaimer right there, just keep that in mind.